Yeah, it's a travel book, and it's a lot of like bullet pointed tips and internet link resources, et cetera, et cetera. But I still wanted to pull a quote from it, and this
Yeah.
one really jumped out at me. And it might not be as directly seemingly related to the travel, but within the context of the book, I understand why you put it there, and because
Hmm.
it's sort of pertinent to a subject matter that comes up in our episodes a lot. I thought it would be a good one to bring out. So you wrote, I've noticed that in today's society, it's harder for us to ask for what we need. It may stem from a place of not feeling worthy enough, not wanting to inconvenience others, or just the anxiety of asking. One of the many corruptive values that are drilled into our heads in the USA is that we must pull ourselves up from our bootstraps and weather the storm alone. Capitalism has also instilled deep in our bones the idea that we need to be productive at all times, working to be worthy of anything, that getting anything handed to us is a shameful thing, and I disagree. So let's talk a bit more about that, the importance of it, and how coming to that realization and that philosophy has since played into your travel lifestyle, obviously, with the budget and just asking and working your way along and things like that.
Wow, thanks, Ellen. That I was like, I wrote that quote. That is so good. It's so true because it resonates with me. So thank you for pulling that out of the book and like putting focus on that. I think that obviously, right, we all have different levels of privilege. Like, I'm not disabled and I'm white and middle class. So, we all have these levels of privilege that play into what we have to do and what we can do and things like that. So, I think there is this notion in the USA we're supposed to do everything ourselves and pull ourselves up from our bootstraps. I think a lot of that is like, right, like people who have a lot of money are usually not doing the most work. Like the factory workers are doing the most work. And so instead of this idea of we all have to struggle individually to, do anything or be great or be worthy of anything, I like this model of community care better, right? Like asking for what we need, sharing our resources when we have them, and then when we don't, receiving those resources. I like that a lot better. And yeah, with capitalism, it's like money is everything. And really like money is your time and your energy. So, for example, with my bike trip, instead of working before I went to save up like a lot of people do, I was exchanging that on the road. I would work, whatever, like at a restaurant or wherever for a meal that day, or I would work, I don't know, doing a random job. Like this one time I turned into this guy's nanny and babysitter and cleaned his house, like on the go when I needed cash for the next bus ticket. So it's a little bit different of a model. Yeah, sometimes there are people who have more resources than the rest of us. And I think that it is okay to say, hey, I'm lacking in this area. Can you share this resource with me? And if people want to, they will. And if they don't want to, they won't. We think like, oh, they have it, so it's theirs, or they deserve it. And I don't have that money, so I don't deserve these things, or whatever that is. It's like, no, it's not always fair like that. And sometimes we need to, use that community care, and sometimes we need to ask for what we need. And doors open up, right? Like just asking for things that for someone else may not be that big of a deal, but for you, like that's huge for you. Like when you're on a bike trip and you really need a ride because your bike broke down. For someone else, they're like, oh yeah, I'm already going this way, it's not really a big deal, get my car, I drop you off. For me, it's like that's the whole world. What am I going to do if this is not fixed yet? So that model of community care and asking for what you need, and not everything needs to be based on this like monetary system that's killing us, I think was really cool to learn about firsthand and get to experience. After that and out of the country, I've done a lot of work exchanges, and I've also asked to create positions that weren't there before. So maybe I want to go somewhere, but I could never afford it. Hey, can I teach yoga there? Hey, can I do your social media? Hey, can I whatever? I mean, just asking. Sometimes you're not even taking anything away from someone else. You're just creating a new possibility. So it's been fun to kind of play with that. And I always encourage other people, like if you're on a budget, sometimes you have to create these new opportunities for yourself, and you just have to ask. I mean, my mom always says the worst they can say is no. So that's what
Right.
I always keep
Yeah.
thinking, like, all right, if they don't, and sometimes they say no, but
And I like how in your book you say that a couple times. you're basically like giving the reader, the traveler, the permission, like just ask. But you're also saying, just remember that the other person has the right to say no, and that's fine too. You just move on from there. I would say more often than not, people fall into this trap outlined in the quote of just feeling like they're not worthy enough and they'll never get to accomplish some big thing they dream of consequently. But the reverse of that sometimes is you have the people that, I don't know, maybe they're like so inflated with privilege or something that they are offended at the very thought someone would even dare to tell them no. And it's like, well, come on, the respect's got to go both ways. And so you ask, they say no, you move on. Somebody else comes along, they say yes. Well, there you go. I mean, you just pick up from there. And but the importance being in your position, in the traveler's position, is trying and putting it out there so that you actually have the opportunity with your hands out, I guess, to receive something instead of just assuming nothing's ever going to happen,
Yeah.
Assuming nothing's ever going to happen, I think, becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy maybe in a lot of Americans' lifestyles. 80 years old wondering where your life went. It's like, well, you should have gone out and asked,
Yeah, and it starts conversations and connections with people because it feels good, right? Like when we do something good for someone else or we like genuinely help someone, it feels good, like we're like, oh, we did what we were here for the day. So it starts so many connections that if we're just based on this monetary system of like, that's the only time I'm going to have an exchange with someone, that's the only way I'm going to go here or stay here or see this place, then we miss so many opportunities to connect with people that we usually wouldn't connect with. Like, I've just gone to so many places where if I hadn't asked to do this thing in exchange for this thing, this magical adventure would have never happened and I would have never met these people. And usually we both benefit